So this is the other holster that I've got. Last holster I've got in the shop here. I know the P.O. box tomorrow, that'll load me up again, but it is what it is. So all it really needs is this strap that goes from here to here and closes it. Customer included a little paper drawing of one, which is fantastic. I've done many of these before, so I even have a bunch of them like this that are cut out. These are a little bit bigger, so a little different holster. Those holsters were for, I don't remember. This is really, it's really tiny. I mean, here's my hand. I don't have long fingers, but I got big hands, but that's all it is. It's a pretty small holster, magazine pouch. You just got to put that strap on it. We got to stitch this belt loop back down. And the best part of all that is, the side needs to be restitched as well. So that actually makes it a lot easier if I got to restitch all of that, because it just does. It just makes it easier. I don't have to restitch all of it. I'm just going to go down as far as I have to, because why do the whole thing if we don't have to, you know? Go down a little, maybe a hole back from where it's at, clean all the thread out, get it all ready to go. And I've got a piece of leather here that's a pretty close. Once it gets a finished top coat put on it, it's probably going to darken up. If not, I'll find another piece. I want to come as close as I can to matching that, even though it's kind of a couple of different shades, which is cool. I really like it. I really like brown dye on leather. So it's just a few things that we got to do. I'm going to get you over on the bench. I'll show you what we're going to do to get started. So I got right here on the bench, wanted to get started. So this is a little bin of pieces that I've cut out that haven't been quite right. I don't throw them out, I keep them. You know, this one wasn't quite right. I could use this, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. So I'm not going to use that one. This piece is much darker, but it's kind of too dark, and I don't know what got on it. Something got on it that doesn't make it look good. So actually I'll throw that away. These are a bunch of original parts that I can reuse that came off of other holsters that I just kind of scrapped out because they were that bad. I could probably, this was a magazine pouch that didn't come out right. There is just enough there to get one out of that. I'm mostly concerned with the color though. Here's another one of those other tabs. And that actually looks pretty good. I will put some top coat on that. Here's just another piece of leather. And some of these have been installed. This one's got stitch holes in it. Doesn't do me much good in this case. Aside from, I do need to go quite a bit shorter. Oh, I could use that. No, I can't. It's not long enough up on top. So we'll just dig a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and buff this off. My shoulder is still pretty messed up. Wonder what that'll do with a little Connolly's treatment on it. It's nice to have a couple of different options. While I'm at it, might as well do this too. Now the Connolly's is just, I'm using it as a top coat in this case. I do use, I'll go through one of these tubs, I don't know, about every 7 months. It doesn't take much to do an entire holster. I mean, it really doesn't. And if you're trying to resurrect a holster, I can't talk much either. If you're trying to resurrect a holster that's dried out and all yucky, that's a real word, you know, yucky. It works pretty well, but you have to use several applications. You can't just do a one and done kind of thing and expect that holster is going to come back. You got to give it several treatments, and you got to spread those treatments out. If you do them all one right after the other, you know, one today, one tomorrow, one the next day, it's not going to make any difference. So, wow, you know, I think that looks pretty doggone good. Right there. It's almost a tough call here as to which one of these looks better. I honestly think this piece looks better. It matches more down here at the bottom better. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. That sure seems long. I think his dimensions are off a bit. I could be wrong. Maybe I cut it too big too. I'm not too far off. Once I sand down the edge, I'll be right in there. The pictures that I have of these two, they do have a pretty sizable little tab here to grab onto, so I think we're okay. We'll be okay. Okay. Let's round our corners. So I'm lining the bottom of the loop up, with the mark. There's a mark in there. I mean, you can see clearly. You can clearly see where this piece was. So let me zoom this in just a little bit. So I'm just kind of marking that out, just lining that up at the bottom there. And I want to make little marks. So I know where my stitch line starts and stops. Pretty simple. I did measure these, and it comes up with a 4mm spacing on the button. So I can just line up my 4mm chisel on my lines. more forgiving. There we go. That's all ready. This needs to dry probably overnight, but I'm not that patient. But while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and once I get this stitched on, I'll mark where that falls so I can get it perfect. But while that's drying, let's go ahead and figure out what thread is going to match the best. Tell you, this has saved me a lot of time. I'm trying to find existing threads so I can try to match up to that. You know, I think a little darker, but the only thing I've got between that and this is nothing. This is pretty dark thread. This is a really dark brown. I don't remember what color it is because I threw the tag away. Usually I'll either leave the tag on my thread or I'll throw it in here right underneath my thread. This happens to be walnut brown for the lighter color. I know that this is also the walnut brown, which is pretty close. I mean, I can't lie. Now some colors, as you stretch them, they'll lighten up a little. This is not. So brown it shall be. And it's just, we're gonna do this belt loop right quick. The rest of it looks like it's stitched on pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it with some Connolly's real quick. With the Connolly's, all I do is I just kind of rub it in with my finger. It's pretty naturally sourced stuff. It's beeswax and lanolin. Lanolin is that oil that you find in sheep's wool. And beeswax, of course, is what bees make their hive out of. Makes a very good treatment for holsters. And I just try to rub it in good. Take a soft microfiber towel. I usually leave it sit for a little bit, but I'm mostly using it to clean here. Here's a question for y'all. My wife and I were talking about this the other day. What's your favorite part of a vacation? And it's kind of general. To me, I'm not a big vacation guy, but when I do take them, I like to enjoy my time on them. And when they're done, they're done. And my favorite part of a vacation is actually coming home. I like where I live. I like my life. You know, it sounds kind of weird. I don't have a lot of money. Actually, kind of broke, really. But you know, there's just some things in life that I'd rather have. You know, my stuff is here. It's all my stuff. I like my stuff. I like my family. They don't think so sometimes, but I do. I really do. This is almost the size of a pocket holster. It's pretty cool. This holster's cleaning up great. I see a couple of holes at the very top here that look like they've pulled through the side on the top piece here. I hope I can deal with that. I mean, I have dealt with it before a couple of different ways, but there's not enough room to do it on this. Whenever I'm doing something like this, I want to be kind of cognizant to where it was tied off. Because this is a linen thread, you can't just burn it like you do some of the others. So I've got to look in here and see if I can tell. So it was tied off back in here, which is where I would, excuse me, it's tied off back here, which is where I would tie it off if I had the choice. I kind of do, but that's where it was tied off. So I'm going to stitch, I'm going to go down this way. We'll do a crossover because I think I saw a crossover in there. Yep. And then we'll stitch back over and tie off down here. Pretty simple. It's not a difficult deal to do, especially if you have the side open for you already. So we'll start on here. Time to make the donuts. See if anybody remembers that. I don't generally like to stop in a place like this, but I don't think I have a choice. That shoulder's hurting way too much. That alarm that just went off is for my medication, so it means my pain meds are all wore off. So I'm going to call it a night. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll pick up where we left off. You know, sometimes I get going and I just forget to turn the camera back on. So this is the next day. I got the belt loop is all stitched on the back. Just putting the tab on in the front. Shouldn't be much. So this one made an X pattern on the back side of it. And that's how it ties off, or how it crosses over. So basically on the inside, the thread in this hole is going to go over to that hole. Going in this hole is going to come to this one. And then this one will bind over, this one will come over, and you just continue on. It's actually the way I prefer these to go. You just look which one crossed first. In this case, it was this one. Now some of them, sometimes you'll see them that just cross straight, or when they cross over they just go straight. You just got to kind of watch for some of that. And we'll just take this one through the top. And then it just ties off here. Now we're all tied off, but you can't see because everything's dark. You want to hammer that down, and it's really hard to do that, but the magic Odin steel weight here does a good job. Just give her a little buff. And there's our tab. Make sure it works. And that's all you need. Pops right off. And that's how these were designed. You can actually, the tab is big enough that it's easy to get a hold of and easy to pull open. So there we go. Now I got to clean out the rest of these holes. You guys have seen me do that a million times. I'm going to get after that. Believe it or not, I went and got started stitching already. Go figure, huh? Anytime I'm this close, this stitching is really close to the very edge. And anytime I'm doing that, I'm really extra careful feeding my needle through because there's just not much leather there. And before I pull it all the way through, I put my thumb over it and just give it a little bit of a little tension on it. I'm not really trying to tighten it down real tight. You just got to snug it up a little. You know, and we're always working with holes that are already there. We're not adding new holes. So I just got the needle just barely coming through, and my thumb's over it. And having your thumb over that just kind of helps keep it from popping through. The last thing we want is to have it pop through. Sometimes you'll get a holster that's, the leather is just, the integrity of it just isn't there anymore. And you kind of have to evaluate. Those are usually the ones that I'll turn down, because I can't do it and give the customer what they want, what they're expecting. I'm not a miracle worker. So I had one blowout, aside from getting stuck in the belly. One blowout here, and there isn't anything I can do about it. I'll see what I can, I'll try to do something with it. This one kind of tied off weird, just by the way the leather is looking. So the front one came around and went through, and it tied off right up here at the top. And the same with the other one. Kind of a different way to bind it, but it works. One of those situations where you just got to look at the old marks and see how it all was. So I don't know if you'll see that blowout here. Right there, it just kind of blew out the side a little bit. Let's see if I can get that better. Right here, it just kind of blew out a little bit. There isn't a thing that I can do about it except try to push everything together. As for the rest, there's a couple other spots that are really so close to the edge. There isn't much I can do. I'll go along and I'll give it a little extra Connolly's around there just to kind of, you know, keep some of that integrity. And that's about all I can do for it. There you go, folks. That's it for this little guy. A lot of this perimeter stitching was already out down to about here before it came to me, so I had to, it was just easier to pull the rest of it out and then stitch it back up all the way. Not that I like to do that, but at that point it's another 2 inches of stitching. It's not that big a deal. Did the belt loop, just had to stitch the bottom back on and put a tab on it, made a tab and stitched her on. I think I got the color of the tab pretty good, but that's going to be it for this one. I'll put a link to a playlist of these kind of holster repairs right over here, and check that out if you like what I'm doing. That's fantastic. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. Otherwise, I really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It helps the channel out a lot, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So y'all stay safe. God bless. I'll catch you in the next one. I got a couple of different ones coming up, so stay tuned.